And talking about the Warriors there, we're going to transition now. Assistant coach of the Golden State Warriors has been hired as the Los Angeles Lakers head coach. Luke Walton taking over the head coaching duties for Byron Scott, who was fired.
The tank commander.
The tank commander. I mean, he's got small shoes to fill, but a large tank to swim in.
He has done a fantastic job. Byron Scott was brought in for one reason. That was to get that pick guaranteed top 3, and he's done everything he could to do that. Mission accomplished, boys. He's done. He's going to get a fat paycheck for it. Everybody's happy. So now Luke Walton comes in with this young roster and possibly a top 3 pick in this draft. If it's not, it's not a pick. So he's hoping. But I think he's got a great setup to build off of.
And if we are looking at former Laker players who went on to coach the Lakers, you look at Byron Scott with a win-loss of 38-126. Kurt Rambis, who was 24-13.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Magic Johnson, who was 5-11. Pat Riley, who was 533 and 194. Pretty good there.
I say, yeah.
Jerry West, who was 144 and 101, Jim Pollard, who was 14 and 25, and George Mikan, who was 9 and 30. So
I had
obviously,
no idea so many ex-Lakers had come back to coach.
8 ex-Lakers. I mean, he's either going to be Pat Riley or he's going to be Byron Scott. I mean, that's what I'm looking at here.
And if trends are anything, he's definitely leaning Pat Riley.
I don't think he's going to be anywhere near Byron Scott. No, my first thought of when I saw it come across the ticker on the top of my phone was like, holy shit, what just happened? Because I'm watching the draft, then the NFL draft, and I'm like not even focusing on basketball because I'm looking at the draft. I just see it and I go, what the fuck is this? Yes, big news. Walton going to the Lakers, and this is what the Lakers need. They need a young coach to come in because the thing is, and everyone can say what they want about, he's going to come in and try to replicate that style that Steve Kerr did with the Warriors. Maybe. But I'm leaning more towards what Dave said earlier in the podcast, where Luke Walton is going to be a guy that treats his players much like Kerr treats his and talks to them as an equal. And when you got a guy like Swaggy P and a guy like D'Angelo Russell, those guys seem like guys that don't take too well to, hey, do what you're told, young kid.
Now, with Kerr, though, he walked into a situation where Steph and Clay were already in place. Draymond was already there.
It was a little easier.
He walked in with the roster there.
No one's saying it's going to be a cakewalk.
But at the same time,
LA.
I mean, they were a good team, but they weren't a great team yet.
Yeah.
Kerr definitely elevated
him. And some are even saying, I mean, I know you've gotten torched in the comment section for this, that we should give Mark Jackson credit for what the Warriors have become.
As soon as you remove Mark Jackson, Draymond Green turned into a top 5 player. I mean, in his position.
No, I'm just saying that's what some of the
difference
other,
is. Mark Jackson did good. Don't get me wrong; he did a fine job, and he set that team up for success. That's it. You just give him credit, and Steve Kerr took that team to the next level.
Obviously not tank commander level, but he did set up the next regime. He did bring in that roster, but he couldn't get them further. I mean, obviously Byron Scott got that roster together, just making them a shitty team. But he did set up Luke Walton, and he does have pieces there with Jordan Clarkson, D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle. Now there's talks that Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell might be traded for Boogie, but we'll get to that. And they also have possibly a top 3 pick if it does stay in the top 3 and it doesn't go further than that.
76ers collection.
It's going going number 1. The Lakers are getting the number 1 pick.
NBA draft is rigged.
Yeah, conspiracy theory.
What?
Oh, goodbye Kobe. Here's Ben Simmons. That's what the Lakers are getting.
Anyways,
back on track.
Do you think Luke Walton will be successful in his Los Angeles Laker term? I mean, just broad
success.
Winning a championship.
Well,
eventually,
that's
maybe. But here's an interesting point that I wanted to bring up on this podcast.
I'll change it.
No. Let's stick with it.
Okay.
Just off of the
I just wanted to bring
successful.
up this to kind of go off of that. Is I was watching PTI and they were talking to Doug Collins, who used to be the coach of the 76ers, Northwestern. And the thing that he said about Luke Walton, this was way before, this was like earlier in the day, before Luke Walton had said, okay, I'm going to be the Lakers head coach.
Yeah.
What really stuck with me is he said Luke hasn't had to go through that kind of adversity. He hasn't hit that wall, that tough spot of being a head coach, and it's going to come. And it all depends on what happens when you get to that spot, because every head coach has to go through it. There's just that one spot where it's like you hit it, and it's like, okay, how am I going to get through this? Luke Walton's never had to do that because he was head coaching this year with basically got handed the best team in the NBA with the MVP on his team.
I mean, he did lose.
Not basically, he did, yeah.
He did lose a game, which is pretty much he ruined the streak. That's adversity for the Warriors. Like, he ruined the streak.
But he's going to have to
That's
go
a lot
through,
of adversity.
He's going to have to go through even more adversity on a team that doesn't
He's going to
have
do the
Steph
opposite,
Curry.
where they go on a losing streak, and
then
he's got to pull them through for a win.
Yeah, and obviously he has to weather the storm with the whole D'Angelo Russell stuff and regaining the trust there. But I mean, he will have a new player coming in if the pick does stay in the top 3. He might get a Ben Simmons or Brandon Ingram or a Dragon Bender, depending on where they go.
Ben Simmons, they're getting the number 1 pick.
All right, Ricky, stop. Ricky, you can leave your tinfoil hat at home. I get it. You're a conspiracy theorist. You think it's rigged. We got it. But he might get a top 3 pick here. He might get some. He's obviously got youth in D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, and Julius Randle. He will have the adversity to weather the storm there. But I think that he can really be successful due to his experience under Phil Jackson, playing under Phil Jackson, being around a superstar in Kobe Bryant, being able to handle, personalities like that, being with Shaq for a little bit, I believe. And then also, he was under with Steve Kerr, actually getting, the ability to coach, being the ability to coach, modern day NBA players like Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. I think he will have the ability to weather the storm. And also, he's in LA, where a place where people want to go for free agency. He's going to have the cap room, and they're going to, the GM is going to have the ability to make moves in that will fit this team better. So I think he's in a great place to succeed. And we talked about this earlier when we were talking about Phil Jackson, that he was either going to the Knicks or the Lakers. So I wasn't too shocked that he went to the Lakers. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's a perfect fit because he knows the city, he knows the GM, he knows the buses. And I think it's going to be a fantastic fit. And I think he can succeed. And especially with this youthful roster, I think he can win an NBA championship.
Well, and before I say the point, I was going to say, you forgot the most important mentor to Luke Walton, and that's the great Bill Walton. Bill Walton, obviously being his father, being a mentor on his life. But I think with the Buss family and the Lakers, I don't know if... I think it was kind of a tie at the top, where it was like, okay, we either want Luke Walton or Coach Thibodeau. And then the Timberwolves got Coach Thibodeau. So they went, okay, that makes our choice easy. Let's go for Luke, kind of a thing.
They also might just want him because he's youthful and he has experience with a top team, and he has experience with the city. I think that might have been their number 1 guy too.
And the other thing is, you've already got the Kobe Bryant stamp of approval. Mm-hmm. They interviewed him back in November about it, and Kobe was quoted saying, I used to tease him all the time, saying he's the next Phil Jackson because he's an average player with a messed up back. And he goes on to say, but honestly, he always had a brilliant mind, understanding the flow and tempo of the spacing and how to manage a team the right way. So if anybody spent enough time on the bench with Phil Jackson, it was Luke Walton. Mm-hmm. I think it's
either on the bench or in the corner.
He was pre-mentored by Phil Jackson. He didn't work under him in the coaching system, but he definitely spent a lot of time on the bench talking to Phil, and he definitely had the respect of people on the team. I mean, even up to Kobe Bryant saying, hey, dude, you know your shit. Like, I respect that, and that's fantastic. So I think that definitely made an easier decision for the Buss family, and I think it's kind of like Kobe's final thing. This is the right way to go with the franchise guys.
My whole thing with Luke Walton is I'm not even looking at it from an X and O perspective. I'm looking at it just from a head coach of just what is his personality that he's going to bring into this team. And when I look at that, it's going to be, just like you said, kind of a mix of Phil Jackson with a mix of what he learned under Steve Kerr as an actual coach in the league. Great hire for the Lakers. I would say if I'm putting a grade on it, A+, you hit a home run out of the park.
I do just want to mention one thing. Luke Walton unofficially won 39 games this year. That is more than Byron Scott won in his Laker career.
0. 0 is what he got credit for.
That's why I said unofficial.
That's why I said unofficial.
I know.
He did finish 8th in the voting for Coach of the Year, though.
With that being said, though, I think Kerr should have done the man move and just been like, hey, you know what? Thanks for the award. I'm going to give it to Luke because he deserves it.
All right. What do you think about the Lakers roster, though? Do you think that Luke Walton might change immediately? Is there a player or a player type that he does want to bring in? Because they obviously have youth in Russell, and they have youth in Clarkson, and they have youth in Randall, but do you think those pieces fit together? They even have Larry Nance, who showed flashes. Do you think he wants to bring in a veteran? Do you think there's a specific player type that Luke Walton might like that he saw with the Warriors or prior in his Laker career that he might want to bring in, either a free agent or a trade for?
I think Ricky kind of touched on this earlier when he brought up what kind of system that we expect Luke Walton to run. And the question is he going to run the Steve Kerr, shooting, crazy, amazing shooting offense, or is he going to the triangle? And that's the question is, with the roster he has right now, they can't run a similar offense to what the Warriors are doing. They just don't have the shooting for it. They don't have the right personnel.
I don't think he's going to be married to the triangle either.
And that's the thing. So I don't know if he's going to go somewhere in between until he finds that zone, his zen area, where, you know, whatever is going to work for him. He might come up with his own style. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you have to work around the personnel you have, and you're given a star in the making in D'Angelo Russell. You're given Jordan Clarkson, who's probably going to end up being an all-star in the next coming years.
And that's the thing. You say a star in D'Angelo Russell, and Sean, when I heard you going through the question, I'm like, okay, I know the answer I'm going with. And Luke Walton has to figure out, he has to look at D'Angelo Russell, he has to look at Swaggy P, and he has to say, who's more important to my team?
Tough decision.
The reason why I say that is because of the drama that went around this team, and then kind of went away because of Kobe's last game, and everyone got just kind of sucked in with the great night that truly was. That's the drama that we saw at the end of the season for the Lakers. It hasn't gone away completely, and it won't go away. I think Luke Walton, one of his first moves has to be, okay, Russell is the guy I'm keeping. How do I get Swaggy P the fuck out of town?
Yeah, I think that's a quick decision there. Sets the tone for how he's going to run this franchise going forward. And if he doesn't address it right off the bat, I'm honestly going to be disappointed in him.
Yeah, and obviously he won't have personnel influence, or like he won't have the actual final say or be making those moves.
But I feel like he
will
can
have influence. Yeah,
he can go to the Bus family. He can go to Mitch Kupchak and say, "Hey, this guy's a problem. We got to get him out of here." Because him and Russell are never going to work together because of what happened.
And I think also it kind of creates a divide, too, because people will side with Nick and people will side with D'Angelo.
He's the vet in the locker room, and Kobe's not there to say, dude, shut the fuck up.
But also, I mean, maybe Kobe, his lasting impression will just make that kind of stuff ease away because if we didn't really, but we didn't see stuff come up. I'm just saying, maybe Kobe's influence will help. But I mean,
it's not like it affected their performance throughout the year.
No, it didn't.
They were shit to begin with. They were shit to end with.
But it was just a bad kind of bookmark to the end of the season.
But we did get to watch D'Angelo develop, and we saw those flashes of what he could be.
Boy, did we! Yeah.
And I think that's really the thing that Luke Walton obviously got to see, and he's encouraged. He's happy about it because he's like, I get to coach this young kid. I get to mold him to be a great player. And you've got other, like you said, other good young talent, Julius Randle, and even Clarkson, who has stepped up, and probably Clarkson will end up replacing Swaggy P once he moves out of town.
No, I agree. I really think, I am really adamant that the Lakers need to get Swaggy P out of town as soon as possible.
I think the Lakers are pretty adamant on getting Swaggy P out of town. You mentioned, Luke Walton watching D'Angelo Russell play. When they did upset the Warriors in the Staples Center, he did put 21 points. He did shoot 42% from three, also 6 for 14 from the field. So he did kind of impress in that game, and also against Brooklyn. I think it was 4 days before he did put up that 39, where he shot 66% from the field and 66% from three. So obviously he does have that scoring touch, and obviously I think he can be the main focal part of the Lakers offense. Now let's go to the draft, because they will have a top 3 pick, and let's say they get the number 1 overall pick. I know I'm not trying to feed the conspiracy theory there, Rick, but they do have good odds at getting the number 1 pick. Let's say they get the number 1 pick. Do you go Simmons or Ingram? Because maybe Ingram is the better fit because you want the 3-point shooting, because Walton's been around the 3-point shooting of the Golden State Warriors. Maybe he does want to bring that back in, or does he go Ben Simmons with a natural driver, with a guy who can pass the ball, who could be a facilitator on offense? Maybe you get D'Angelo Russell working off the ball. Where would you go if the Lakers did get the number 1 overall pick? Because Ricky, I know you're a pick.
Ben Simmons. If you get the number 1 pick, no matter what team it is, you're going to go with Ben Simmons just because of the potential that he has. I mean, when you get the Garners and the comparisons to LeBron James, and if you think he's going to become that, you go ahead and take him.
When your floor is Giannis Antetokounmpo, then I honestly think that it's probably a pretty good pick.
Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Yeah, sure, that guy.
The Greek freak.
The Greek freak.
All you had to say, Dave.
But I like to say his name.
Because maybe Ben Simmons does fit that DeAndre Jordan, the Draymond Green role of where he's a power forward who can also pass the ball, who can kind of be a facilitator. Obviously, a higher level of that is what I'm saying.
I feel like he's more athletic because he's not as like built like a fucking brick shit house like DeAndre Jordan.
He's not a fullback.
Like Draymond Green, I think he definitely has a better handle on the ball. He's quicker, so I see him as that second ball handler with D'Angelo Russell up front, taking some of the pressure off him. And we saw, like you mentioned earlier, some of the highlights of him, nailing down the 3-ball consistently. Maybe that'll help, expand out that team and make Luke Walton rethink, how am I going to build this team now that I've got this another option up front with the ball?
You know what also wouldn't be a bad thing for the Lakers with Luke? They got the 3rd pick. Because, I mean, even if Ingram and Simmons are off the board, okay, sure, let's get a shooter like Murray.
Well, you're not going to bring in another shooter because then you got to move Clarkson because you're going to have Clarkson
now a 6-man, which we already kind of projected him out to be a 6-man. But maybe, you know what, he has potential to be that 2-guard still.
Or are you going to go with Dave's favorite player, Bender?
Yeah, I think you need to go with a bigger guy there because you don't really have a center. You obviously you have Randall there, but you need a.
But the thing with Bender is he's more of a stretch 4, and he's increased his minutes in EuroLeague, but he's not playing too many minutes, so it's a question mark.
Dude's
That's
still 7-1.
No, I know.
Dude can play center.
It's one of those things where it's like our GM's going to go, question mark, because he hasn't played.
But is there a right pick? I mean, it almost feels like if they got knocked back to that 3 pick overall, it'd be like last year all over again. It's like, well, what is the right pick for this team right now? Do they need a big? Do they need another guard? Where do they go?
All the Lakers need is the top 3, because obviously if it falls out, it becomes a 76er pick. Thank you, Sam Hinkie. But all they need is a pick, because now that they have Luke Walton at the helm, they don't have the tank commander, so whatever pick they do make, they can know that, hey, it's going to help Luke Walton fit whatever system he's bringing in to Hollywood.
Let's get a final consensus here. Will Luke Walton win an NBA championship in LA?
No.
I think if he's there for 5 years, they're going to be in an NBA Finals.
Fair enough. I think
that's as much as I'm willing to give him, because there's too much uncertainty.
Yeah. Right now with the uncertainty, I'm leaning towards he kind of gets his foot in the door in LA and then makes it big somewhere else, kind of a thing.
What I'm thinking, I don't think he's going to leave at LA, honestly. I think he's going to be able to bring some free agent, and I think he's going to be able to develop that team.
I hope he brings LA back.
I'm thinking that he's going to win an NBA championship in LA, maybe multiple. I just think if he gets a top 3 pick this year, I think he's going to be able to get a guy that he wants and a guy that he can develop. And I think it's going to go beautifully with D'Angelo Russell and maybe possibly Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson. I think it's going to fit perfectly with him.
And I just hate seeing the Clippers as the best team in LA. LA is Laker town, baby.
You know what LA should do? Just tossing it out there.
Just let CP3 play for the Lakers?
Oh, fuck you. I'm not even going back on that whole train derailment, whatever. No.
Thanks, David Stern.
They go out and get somebody like Whiteside in this offseason to shore up that down low post. That kind of takes care of that draft decision for you if you can go get him.